Hello everybody and welcome to episode 35 of my World of Warcraft series. Today we are doing a ton of stuff. First let's go ahead and check our mailbox here, and it looks like the two cooking recipes that we had up on the auction house did not sell, but our plans for green iron shoulders did sell, so we are now 5 gold richer. And I also have a little bit of a care package for my druid there, which we can pick up at another time, and I'll go ahead and buff up that paladin there. And let's go ahead and run out into the road here and begin our adventures this episode, which the big thing that I'm wanting to do this episode is actually head to Arathi Highlands, and we ran through this area a few episodes ago. So let's go ahead and come to the Griffin Master because we unlocked a flight path to Refugee Point or Refuge Point in Arathi Highlands. So let's go ahead and fly there now. And here we are in Refuge Point, and there's a ton of stuff going on here. I guess first things first, let's go ahead and look at this giant red portal right here. And this is to the second battleground of the game, Arathi Basin. We were exploring the Ottrag Valley entrance in the last episode, but we have this field marshal here and then this brigadier general here, which has quests for us, but we are going to ignore them, and we are pretty much going to ignore everything right here on the northern half of this area, except for this Griffin Master right here. But on the southern half, we have a ton of quests in this area. First things first, we have Maiden's Request, which we picked up in Stormwind City. We can go ahead and chat with this dwarf, and then we can go ahead and come over here to Crichton, and we can go ahead and pick up this quest here, worth its weight in gold, which has us fighting some trolls in this area. So this is kind of a fun quest because this is kind of going back to ancient World of Warcraft lore, where the humans in this area basically came together and fought the trolls. So we're kind of doing that again a little bit, but this is a level 36 quest. But let's come over here and we can pick up this quest, Northfold Manor, which is to fight some Syndicate. So we were fighting Syndicate last episode, and we kind of learned a lot about their faction. But here Captain Niall says we're fighting a war for Stromgarde, and we are losing. The ogres, the Syndicate, and we have divided our once great city, and each faction battles the other into a bloody stalemate. But our forces dwindle while our enemy grows. We need help from the town of South Shore, but supplies are difficult to receive while the Syndicate holds territory between us. Go to the Syndicate base in Northfold Manor and slay them. Then perhaps pressure on our supply trains will lessen and more will get through. So let's go ahead and accept this quest, and then we have another quest right here, which is a wanted board, which I'll go ahead and pick up these two quests just so we have them now. And these are quests for once we get into Stromgarde. These quests right now are very high level. They are level 39 and 40, so we're not going to be thinking about that for the immediate future. But let's go ahead and run towards Northfold Manor, which is in the northwest area of this map here. But here we are at Northfold Manor, so let's go ahead and begin working on this quest to defeat 10 Syndicate Highwaymen and 6 Syndicate Mercenaries. And I believe the Highwaymen and also Pathstalkers kind of just, oh, it looks like the Mercenaries and Pathstalkers hang out in there. And I believe we will find the Highwaymen on the outskirts of this little manor here, and yes, there's one right there because they hang out in stealth. So we're going to have a very fun time trying to find all of these highwaymen, but we can also go ahead and go in and fight the mercenaries. But this episode, I'm wanting to try something very different compared to what I've done in previous Let's Play series, and that's kind of to begin experimenting with formats and structures and just kind of like the creative process of creating a Let's Play episode, where in the past like 34 episodes of my World of Warcraft series and the past 30 episodes of my Guild Wars 2 series, I basically did the exact same formula where I log in, I start doing things, and I start talking about doing things, and I kind of put in a little bit of creativity here and there. And then once I'm done with everything I wanted to do for about half an hour of content right now, it used to be like an hour-ish, I log off and call the episode good there. But I am wanting to experiment more with the creative process of creating each of these episodes, and I'm kind of wanting to incorporate multiple sessions into a single episode. So basically what that means is I'm wanting to put more content in like the same amount of time, where this is especially true with my World of Warcraft series, and I'm going to be basically just using my World of Warcraft series as a guinea pig to experiment with a bunch of different things, and then depending on how I like it, I will go ahead and transfer this structure to like other games, assuming the structure works for that game as well. Of course, each game kind of requires requires a different style of let's play in order to like meet the needs of that game. But we will go ahead and start here with this World of Warcraft series, and I will appreciate feedback along the way as we explore everything. And also I would appreciate feedback on audio for the next few episodes as well. We're like starting this episode, I'm kind of trying to fix my audio a little bit. I'm trying to get a little bit better audio, so if the audio seems better in this episode, let me know. If it seems worse, also let me know. And if you have any tips, because I am new and I'm learning, go ahead and leave that down below as well. But back to talking about structure, I'm wanting to incorporate multiple sessions, so I'll record a little bit tonight, and then I'll probably record the next time I'm free a little bit more. But I'm also wanting to kind of add in both live commentary and then like scripted commentary into my series as well. Or like scripted is kind of like lightly scripted. I'm not gonna like write like full scripts or anything, because I still want like Let's Play series to be like pretty organic. Basically I want like some parts of each episode to incorporate like some reading, for example, of like different wiki pages. And I'm very terrified right now, and I think I might be dead actually. And I am. Let's go ahead and return. Anyways, I'm wanting to incorporate some more kind of like lore explanation that's like more thought out and like more like written down and more concrete, and not as blabbery as I kind of have given my lore explanations in the past. So I will do that as we are doing some longer quests that involve a ton of grinding, such as like the next quest that I'm thinking about doing, which is worth its weight in gold, which I think once we're like level 34, which means I might fight some syndicate mobs until I get to level 34. This quest should be like pretty easy to complete, but it is kind of like more of a grindy quest, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about the lore and story of this area of the world that we are currently in a little bit once we get there. I have to use my mana I get here in order to fight this mercenary, because I keep pulling syndicate mobs. I believe we'll be okay here, but it is kind of getting a little close. And that critical hit there is very beneficial for us, and this mercenary is now defeated. But as I mentioned, I'm going to spend the next several episodes kind of exploring this kind of new approach to creating a Let's Play episode. I'm going to experiment with a bunch of different things, and I'm going to see what I like, and hopefully I'll see what other people like as well, and then I'll figure out exactly how I want to approach things. And over the whole process, I hope to learn a lot more about creating content, so that I can improve what I'm doing, because I feel like I've been very like stagnant with like my Let's Play series, and like I enjoy every episode I make, but I feel like I'm kind of like not improving as much as I could be. So I'm going to go ahead and take the initiative there and start learning more. And maybe along the way I'll learn some more editing tricks as well. I think that could always be a good thing. I might take specific parts of my episode to work on a very specific like type of edit in order to learn more about it, so that I can kind of expand my own knowledge as far as editing goes. I just got these silver thread pants from the Syndicate Highwayman here, which has 1 more armor than the pants we currently have, has 2 more intellect, 4 more spirit, and 4 more stamina, but it doesn't increase the damage by our frost spells and effects by up to 10. But I think this is probably better for us to equip, so let's go ahead and equip these, and we'll see if we're dealing less damage, but I think we'll be able to deal like a ton more damage with this added intellect and spirit, and then we have a little bit more survivability with the 40 extra health that we now have. I spent some extra time fighting some of the syndicate members here at the farm beyond what I needed just for the quest, so we could get a little bit more experience, and I'll also fight 1 more, or perhaps 2 more it looks like. There's a lot of action going on here as I leave the farm, and I might actually die again, which is not what I want. And I'm going to go ahead and come all the way over here, as far away as I can, and I'm going to just pray that I can deal enough damage to this highwayman before he can kill me. Go ahead and fire blast there, and okay, I was really hoping he was going to run away after I did that fire blast, and it looked like for a moment that he wasn't, but fortunately for me, he did. So let's go ahead and loot this corpse here, and I'll go ahead and heal really quickly. We got a nice green sword right there. Go ahead and throw this up here, and I might actually give that to one of my other characters, or I might go ahead and try to sell that on at the auction house. But now that that fiasco is dealt with, let's go ahead and leave Northfold Manor and head back towards Refuge Point. Here we are back in Refuge Point. We can go ahead and talk to Captain Niles here, and we can go ahead and turn in this Northwood Manor quest. We can pick up a new quest to gather Stromguard badges and return them to Captain Niles. That quest is a level 37 quest, and it is an elite quest because the entire area of Stromguard here in Classic WoW gets changed in future versions of the game. But in Classic, it is an elite area, so we will have to find some friends once we are a high enough level to do all these quests. But now that we have fought the Syndicate, we are going to change our focus towards the Forsaken and the Horde, and we are going to begin working on the hints of a new Plague quest. I thought I was wanting to do Worthless Weight in Gold, but I think I will go ahead and do this quest first. So let's go ahead and head over to the Goshek farm. So I was heading to the Goshek farmstead and I was getting ready to do this quest, and I noticed that I ran past the courier's group on the way here, so I ran back and the courier wasn't with them. So I had assumed that a player had killed the courier, so I went to the Goshek farmstead, and I was basically around here for like 40-ish minutes, just killing a bunch of orcs, scrolling through my phone and waiting for the courier to spawn, and it did not spawn after 45 minutes, and I did a little bit of research, and apparently it's kind of bugged, so I decided I would leave this for now, and I would go do the Worth My Weight in Gold quest instead. And while we are killing some trolls here, I just wanted to read over the wiki page for a piece of history in Azeroth called the Troll Wars. So I will link the wiki page down below if you want to read this, but I want to read through it together here. So the Troll Wars were a series of conflicts between the forest trolls of the Amani Empire and the alliance of the humans of Arathor and high elves of Quel'Thalas, ending approximately 2800 years before the coming of the orcs to Azeroth. Following the War of the Ancients, the Night Elves outlawed the use of all arcane magic in their forests, with execution as the penalty for the use of the arcane arts. However, many spellcasters did not agree with this and wanted to use their magics. Led by Deathramar Sunstrider, these sorcerers decided to unleash a magical storm upon the tranquil forests. The Archdruid Malfurion did not want to execute so many of his own people, and decided instead to banish them all from their homelands, and Deathramar led them across the sea to the east. These elves shrunk in height, and their skin lost a dark violet hue common among their kin, and thus the Quodoi, commonly known as the High Elves, were born. The elves traveled for years across the road that had been shattered by the wars with the Burning Legion, but in the end they arrived on lands now known as Lordaeron. Settling in the Terrasfog Glades, they quickly encountered the locals, and while contact with the human tribes was sparse, the local trolls had built a great empire and attacked them on sight, quickly fueling a hateful feud between the two races. When the High Elves went to war with the Amani trolls, the elves could not understand how the trolls' weapon enchantments were more powerful than their own. The elves then stole ancient knowledge from troll spellcasters, including the famous Zanza, and used stolen idols to craft their own versions of the troll enchantments. Shortly after their setting, something evil beneath the earth started to drive some of the elves insane, so they decided to press on into troll territory. It didn't take long before the High Elves founded the Kingdom of Quel'Thalas in the northern forests. Not knowing it was an area sacred to the trolls, the forest trolls attacked the fledgling nation in ever-increasing numbers, forcing the elves to use their strong magic. The superstitious troll warbands were frightened away, and it was 4,000 years before they truly retaliated. The human tribes also suffered at the hands of the trolls. At the time, the humans were factional people, scattered and leaderless. Chieftain Thoradin of the Arathi saw the threat to his race and decided to unite the humans. Along with his trusted friend and greatest general Igneous, later to be known as Trollbane, he devised a cunning strategy. Fight the nearby human tribes, and after each victory offer them peace and equality. With this tactic, he united the tribes and founded the first of the human kingdoms, Arathor, situated in what is now known as the Hillsbrad Foothills and Arathi Highlands. His growing empire ruled from the capital of Strom. Up to this time, the human empire had rarely had contact with the reclusive, magic-wielding elves, and all contact with the trolls was through border skirmishes. After years of continual besiegement by the trolls, the High Elves, with defeat nearing, finally decided to seek the aid of the now powerful humans of Arathor. The Elven King Anasterian Sunstrider, a descendant of Dathramar, sent out their diplomats to try and negotiate the primitive humans into aiding them. Even though the elves had at times treated the humans no better than they had the trolls, Thoradin saw the danger in allowing the elf civilization to fall and agreed to an alliance. The elves would teach 100 humans how to wield the arcane arts of magic, while the massive armies of Strom would mobilize and join the war against the trolls. Among the trolls was the spread of a spellbound blade known as Philo Malorn. empowered by arcane magic not only to slay the most formidable and cunning of its enemies, but also to cut through superior numbers and irrigate battlefields with their blood. Troll witch doctors set about casting hexes and curses against the infamous weapon, but history bears out that even the darkest voodoo did little to negate the effectiveness of fellow Malorn during the war. It was said that 1,000 Amani trolls fell before fellow Malorn's fury, spilling enough Amani blood to burn the walls of Zul-Aman. With Trokalar in hand, Igneous Trollbane led the humans into war. The armies of Quothalas and Erethdor engaged the trolls in a great battle at the foot of the Altrak Mountains. The battle lasted for many days, but the knights of Erethdor refused to give any ground, and finally, the Elven Masters agreed that it was time to unleash the Elven and human mages upon the trolls. Magical fires from the sky hindered the trolls' regeneration, and their morale suffered. After some hours of the magical bombardment, the remaining human and elven warriors charged the trolls, broke their lines, and forced them into a terrible rout. Even as they fled, the trolls were pursued and butchered by the merciless allied forces. The trolls' power was broken and their population decimated. The last troll empire lay in ruins. The trolls would never recover from this defeat. The Gurubashi Empire had been shattered by a deadly civil war, and now the Amani Empire of the Forest Trolls was broken. What remained of the trolls of the northern lands was forced into the wilderness. However, the war was not completely unsuccessful for the trolls. Thousands of elves and humans had been slain, and the remaining left completely weakened. Thoradin initially did not want his people to use magic, but he was forced to accept it so it could be utilized against the incredible troll armies arrayed against him. This led to the foundation of Dalaran and many other city-states. Following Thoradin's death, his empire was split up, thus removing any hope for a truly united humanity. The elves owed the humans a debt of gratitude for saving their people and ending the first major war since the Great Sundering and the War of the Ancients, and probably the longest in the history of Warcraft. This debt laid the groundwork for the Alliance and was honored during the Second War when Adrian Lothar, last descendant of the Keen Thoradin of Erethdor, led the Alliance of Lordaeron to war against the Horde. The humans had the largest gains of the war. They were united, and they gained a debt of gratitude from the only force able to threaten them. They were initiated into the arts of magic. Their technology was greatly improved, and inspired by the elves, some claimed the elves taught them the art of metalsmithing, though it is more likely they knew that before the war. They also became the greatest power on the continent, and they were able to spread in every direction with almost nothing in their way. The human mage Merrill Winterstorm was forced into undeath after being mortally wounded during the war, and using his own magic to revive himself, he would later become one of the founders of the Council of Terrasfall, and its sole remaining member after Medivh's betrayal. Alongside all of this information on the wiki page, there's also a map of Lordaeron during the Troll Wars. This kind of just shows where the Empire of Erethdor, the Empire of Quothalas, and then the Amani Empire kind of resided in this continent, and we can kind of compare it to like modern day World of Warcraft, or like World of Warcraft Classic specifically. We can kind of see how these empires changed. But beyond that, I decided to head back to Refuge Point because I had completed this quest, and then I wanted to go to Stormwind so I could do some chores in the city, where I basically went to the Mage Trainer, and then I learned one new spell of the next rank of Cone of Code, and then I went to my tailoring trainer and did a little tailoring, and then I decided to go to Duskwood because I really wanted to finish the last 3 elite quests that we have here in Duskwood, and I tried to find a group for it, but I couldn't find anyone, so I decided to go at it alone, and this would definitely be a little challenging, but I felt relatively confident, especially against the first one, Morladim, where I was able to engage him out in the open, and basically we can see with my fight here against Morladim that the build that I have with my Frost talents is very, very powerful, and I was able to basically keep him rooted for the entire fight, and he basically barely hit me at all because he was just rooted, and I just kept rooting him over and over, and I kept hitting him with critical strikes with my Frostbolt, and I was able to take him down pretty easily. The next boss that I fought was Morbinfell, which was a little harder because he has 3 undead protecting him, but I was able to take care of the 3 undead when I went in there and basically ran away from him and survived, and then ran back in, and I basically engaged him, and I basically kited him all around the house, and I was able to deal enough damage to him and get him down after a long fight. It was so long that some of the undead were starting to respawn in the lower part of the house, so I was getting a little scared for the undead up top to respawn, but fortunately I was able to handle him before any reinforcements came for him. And then last, I had the last elite quest here to go fight Eliza, Abercrombie's dead wife, and this was actually the most challenging of the 3 quests, even though Eliza was the lowest level, because she deals frost damage from far away and also has 3 allies and it basically took me multiple attempts. I died multiple times, but then on the last pull where I was able to defeat her, she bugged a little bit where her guards weren't there, so I was able to fight her one-on-one. I was basically able to overcome her frost spells with my own frost spells, so that was nice. So now that we have completed those 3 elite quests, let's go ahead and run around Duskwood and we can go ahead and turn them in. The first one that we can turn in is the Morbinfell quest, which we can go ahead and return to Jorgen's camp all the way over here in northwestern Duskwood. It feels really good to have completed these elite quests because we had the episode several weeks ago now where I wasn't able to defeat any of these bosses. Well, I didn't even try Morladim, but I wasn't able to defeat Eliza or Morbinfell. But now we have, and it feels very good, and I feel very accomplished to have done that. But here we can run into Swin Jorgen's camp, and we have run into this camp several times. This is a very long quest chain, but now this is the last time that we will be doing it. So let's go ahead and give him Morbin's Bane. And he says, Morbinfell has been defeated. The Dark Riders are still at large, but a small piece of that which I had hoped beyond hope has come to pass. You have done the impossible, and your deeds will forever live in the legends of Duskwood. Go, Athos, and perhaps one day fate may bring you back to me. So we have these pants here, which I don't think is better than what we currently have equipped. And then we have this cloak here, which I hold the same sentiment. I really want that spirit. So I might go ahead and pick this male helmet here, which looks really cool, but we are a mage, so we cannot use it. And then we also get this Torch of Holy Flame, which I am not going to use because I want to use my Icicle Rod because I'm a Frost Mage, and I just kind of like wielding a staff, and wielding a staff that increases my frost damage feels very good. But we can sell these 2 items and we can get some gold. We have been around 40 gold now for a little bit, going up and down. But now let's go ahead and return to Darkshire, and we can go ahead and turn in these 2 quests that I have here. And here we are back in Darkshire. Let's go ahead and have a chat with Commander Althea Ebonlock. And you can go ahead and show her Morladim's skull, and she says you killed him. That's no small accomplishment, Athos. On behalf of the people of Darkshire and the Night Watch, I thank you. There is one small matter, however. I should have told you this earlier. How do I put this? Morgan may believe that his family was all dead, but in fact his daughter, Sarah Lattimore, is now a watcher. She's always been troubled by the circumstances surrounding her father's death. Perhaps you could go bring the news to her. Speak with Watcher Sarah Lattimore in Darkshire. So let's go ahead and chat with Watcher Lattimore right here. And then she says, yes, my father. Her eyes become downcast. I wish there was something I could have done for him. If only I had talked to him before he... Here, take this and lay it on his grave. Maybe somehow he'll know that I'm okay and that none of us hold him responsible for what happened. And thank you, Athos. So we can go ahead and take Sarah Lattimore's ring to Morgan Lattimore's grave, and we can get his sword as a reward for that. So let's go ahead and accept this quest, and we can run all the way back over towards Ravenhill. But first, let's go ahead and walk into the town hall here, and then we can go ahead and turn in the Bride of the Embalmer quest to Lord Ello Ebonlock, the mayor of Darkshire. Let's go ahead and chat with him, and he says, you've done it. The magic within his heart will be proof against the embalmer's evil and a powerful aegis over the town of Darkshire. You have done a great thing for our people, Athos. Your name will remain in our annals forever. And we now have the option between this Mantle of Honor or this Crest of Darkshire, which this Crest of Darkshire is actually a really cool weapon skin for the shield, but we cannot use that. And we can use the Mantle of Honor, which is actually an upgrade for our current shoulder pads. So, we get both of them actually, so we can go ahead and accept that. And then I'll go ahead and just throw this crest up there, and I'll go ahead and equip this new shoulder pad that we have, which I kind of like the look of the old one more, but this one's not too bad. It's also kind of like the same color scheme. But let's go ahead and clean out my inventory a little bit, and then we can return to Ravenhill. So here we are back at Ravenhill, and here is Morgan Lattimore's grave, a weathered grave. Let's go ahead and put Sarah's ring here, and then we can go ahead and get Arceus here. And then we see Morgan Lattimore here just appeared, and he bowed before us, and he says, my sword Arceus served me well in life, but as at last my spirit may pass from the unhappy in existence, I need it no longer. I shall cling to the love of my daughter and hope that I will find forgiveness under the light for my sins. And then he disappeared. Go ahead and take a look at this sword here, and it's very cool, very bright. I think this is like a nice paladin weapon. Blast a target for 85 arcane damage. We cannot use two-handed swords, so unfortunately this is a little bit of a boost towards our mount that we will unlock very soon at level 40. But now I think I'm going to go ahead and actually head back to Sven Jorgen's camp. I said last time was the last time we'd be there, but let's go ahead and go one more time because I am wanting to find the safety of that campfire, and we shall log out there for the rest of this episode. But I hope you all enjoyed watching this episode. I very much enjoyed playing through it, and I'm experimenting with how I want to present these episodes going forward, so we will see how I like it after I edit it. But I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.